start the weekend tomorrow night with Friday night action. Fulham at home to Wolves. Talking about teams that are hoping to qualify for Europe. Fulham right in the mix. Nobody would have called that at the start of the season, I don't think. And then they went to Brighton and found a way to win. That looked like a huge win for them. They're hosting Wolves. We've talked about Wolves a lot in recent weeks and really seem to be improving under Lopetegui. So they'll be quietly confident of causing a shock, won't they?
It's a tough game for Fulham, this. They'll be favourites, and now it's a different expectation when you're favourites to go on and win and do all that, and the different pressure. But yeah, massive win last week. I expected them to be safe. I think I predicted that at the start of the season, but not to the level they've hit. Again, it just shows that teams with the right style can come up and be progressive in the Premier League. Obviously, with experience, I think that's key. Having Premier League experience is massive. But going into this game, I'm going to say Fulham. As much as it pains me to say that, I'm going to have to say Fulham due to their form and being at home. So I'll say Fulham 2-1.
On to Saturday, we could start with Everton at home to Aston Villa. Some big results for Everton, lifted spirits. Obviously, that Merseyside derby defeat as well, but they look to have given themselves a real fighting chance of staying up under Sean Dyche now. They welcome Aston Villa, who gave as good as they got against Arsenal, but ultimately came up short. How do you see it going at Goodison Park?
I think they'll have to make it tough again. I'm sure that will be the approach. That'll be the foundation of how they play. I don't know if it's the right thing to do against Villa. I think if you go and play, and I don't think they're capable of coping with, I think the manager spoke on this, of testing their defence regular. I think he spoke on the frailties he feels they have, which I don't know if Everton want to take that approach. So may play into Villa's hands this. I'll just say the Goodison faithful. I just think that is an impact that helps them. So I'm going to go 1-1.
Leaders Arsenal go to Leicester. Leicester improving. They were well beaten by Man United in the end, but they had a couple of great chances early on in that game. They're definitely playing more like the Leicester we know from previous seasons. Do you think they can cause Arsenal problems at home, or do you think the Gunners are going to come through this one?
Well, I think the Gunners come through, but they could definitely cause problems. Like you said, the first 15, 20 minutes, they should have scored at least one goal. Unfortunate to kind of lose the way they did. You expected Man United to score, and I expected them to win, but Leicester, yeah, should have scored. Like I say, I expect Arsenal to win, so I'm going to say 2-0 Arsenal.
West Ham are at home to Nottingham Forest. Big game down at the bottom. David Moyes really feeling the pressure at the moment, and he'll be targeting this Forest home game as a must-win. But we've seen with Forest time and time again, they're not a pushover, are they?
No. Fortunate last week, I was at the game. Fortunate enough to come away with a point and not to concede more than one, to be honest. But got to give him credit for holding in there and getting the result. So, yeah, well, I think that's 6-7 games now unbeaten, which is a lot for any team, especially when you're fighting relegation. So this would be a huge game for West Ham. Must win, to be honest. I'm seeing a lot of speculation around Moyes if we don't win. So I'm going to go with Moyes and the West Ham and say 2-1.
Another two teams that really need a result. Another huge game at the bottom. Leeds at home to Southampton. Leeds have, initially looked like they were going to stick with their caretaker manager, and then I think after that Everton result maybe got a little bit twitchy. They've hired Xavi Gracia, who we've seen previously in England with Watford, but was sacked there. Not the first manager to be sacked quickly from Watford, it must be said. It's a big job for him, isn't it? And this home game against Southampton, you feel like he has to get off to a good start.
Yeah, again, I'm not sure this is a fixture you would pick. I'm sure you would rather pick top 4, top 16 than to have to beat Southampton, because that is a huge game for both teams. I'm going to say they win, just solely on the fact that it would mean Southampton getting back-to-back wins, which they haven't done all season, I don't think. So I'm going to go Leeds 2-0.
Champions Man City back in league action. They go away to Bournemouth in the half 5. We said last week going to Forest looked like a good fixture for City to reinforce their lead, and it didn't really work out. Do you expect them to put in a more convincing performance against Bournemouth? I mean, you touch on it when you talk about Forest, perhaps a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, again, I just think that it was just one of them games. Like I was there, seeing the first goal coming, seeing the momentum building, and then the second half when they missed a couple of chances, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm not sure this is going to end well." Just for that, that doesn't happen that often. Man City, they normally are clinical, so the performances are there. I think there's a lot more consistency in the performances. It's just being clinical, and I'm sure they come. So I'm going to go 3-1 Man City.
And we finish with the two games that we've talked about, the teams in detail, starting with Crystal Palace at home to Liverpool. And we talk about Liverpool's problems here. Palace so nearly snapped that run without a win, conceding last minute last weekend, but it was a much better performance from them. And any team's going to fancy giving Liverpool a few problems at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, again, and counter-attack is what Palace like to play and enjoy, and are comfortable doing that. And the players they have are able to do that, and the space that Liverpool give. This is a tough game for Liverpool, this, regardless of their form, regardless of what form they're in. So I'm going to go with my heart and say 2-2.
Just the one game on Sunday in the Premier League, because we have the Carabao Cup final later in the day. But Tottenham at home to Chelsea. Tottenham, good time to find some decent form. They've slipped themselves back into fourth. This home game against Chelsea looks like the kind of fixture that on the form book would go Tottenham's way, but we know that their record against Chelsea, it leaves a bit to be desired, and it's always a bit different in a derby, isn't it? How do you see this one going?
Yeah, very different, these games. But I see them winning. There just doesn't seem to be enough cohesion at Chelsea. I think they have the players, and tactically, obviously, Potters knows what he's doing. It's just not gelling for whatever reason. And I just feel the way he wants to play, similar to City, will suit Spurs in being out of possession for longer periods, not long periods, but longer than Chelsea, and just winning the game, being efficient with the chances. Like Harry Kane, Son, he might not even start, but in regards to them just getting chances and all of a sudden scoring, I just see that happening. So I want to go 2-1 Spurs.